Hi, my name is Shan and welcome back to the chaos that is Shani and Books. Today I am starting a themed reading vlog in which I am going to be reading Filipino book for a week. I have done this before. I don't know if the video might be on private. I do want to go back and watch it because Kian would have been only like 1 or 2 months old. This was almost 2 years ago now. But if you didn't know, I am Filipino, obviously Australian too, and I live in Australia. But I noticed that I don't read a lot of Filipino books. So when I did this a couple of years ago, it was, to try and increase the amount of Filipino authored books that I was reading. I also saw that Jan from Jan Agaton did this recently, so I'll leave her vlog linked as well because it was really good. She is also a Filipino. But yes, let me talk about the 3 books that I'm going to try and read this week. Sorry, again, chaos. The other reason that I'm wanting to do it this week is we have a lot of birthdays in my family all around the same time. My birthday, Kian's birthday, my mum's birthday, and then her mum's birthday are all within this 2-week period at the end of June, beginning of July. So tomorrow we're going to be having a family dinner to celebrate all of our birthdays. And a lot of times we get some Filipino snacks and desserts for after. So if we do that, I will obviously include the footage. But yes, let's just get into the books. So the first one is The Patron Saints of Nothing, which I've been meaning to read this since it came out. I remember the year that this came out, it was an anticipated release and then it was released and I didn't read it. But this one, I believe, is about this boy who lives in the US and he finds out that his cousin who lives in the Philippines has died. Right, he discovers that his cousin was murdered as part of President Duterte's war on drugs and no one in the family wants to talk about what happened. Jay travels to the Philippines to find out the real story. So this sounds like something I would like. I'm assuming it's going to deal with grief as well. And yes, I'm very excited to get to this one. I also have All of This Is True, which is a young adult mystery. So I am slightly nervous because I don't have the best of luck with those. But I'm hoping it'll be a quick read because it looks like kind of like mixed media. It looks like emails and different things. So yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I don't really know what it's about, but I'm gonna try it. And lastly, I have Turtle Under Ice, which is a book that's written in verse, so it should hopefully be pretty quick. Her mother died a few years ago. Her sister has drifted into their own corners of the world, each figuring out in their own separate ways how to exist in a world in which their mother is no longer alive. Okay, and then her sister disappears under the cover of night in the middle of a snowstorm, leaving no trace or tracks. She's left to piece together the mystery behind where Ariana went and why. Which under the dust jacket, I don't know, am I just old? I don't think probably like, do people even use hard copy resumes anymore? But do you remember like back in the day, did anyone else like put their resumes, like it was like you put your resume on like this type of paper, like it looked like this? As soon as I took off the dust jacket, I was like, is this a resume? So yeah, I've been in a bit of a reading slump, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to get through these 3 books this week. Oh, a bit of a color theme as well. And yes, let's go. Okay, I haven't done any reading yet because I've had a headache today. We got this like little play couch yesterday. It's for Kian's birthday, which is in for like 2 more weeks. But we've opened it early. I just wanted him to open it early and have a nice present early. And it was like vacuum sealed. And I think that's why, I don't know if it's that or the fabric, but it has like a really strong like plasticky smell. So I think that's why I've had a headache today. Anyway, I just got a parcel delivered to the door. Did you want to open it? It's not for you, it's for me, but you can open it. I ordered some books. Look, we ripped this bit. Rip it open. It's a bit hard to do. So this is a part of my present to myself. Oh. Could we open it? Do you want to see what's inside? I think there's some books for me. Another book? Wow. Thank you so much. I think there's some stuff inside this. Oh, you can hold on to the bookmark. Oh my god, it's cute. It came with like this little sticker inside one of the books. I don't know, that's not gonna focus. And there's a little like thank you card. Thank you for supporting our indie bookstore and BIPOC authors. It means the world to us. Oh, cool. And a code for my next purchase.
No.
So this is from Amplify Bookstore. There's also a little bookmark that came with it. It's all blurry, but yes, this is from Amplify Bookstore, and they have only BIPOC authored books on their website, which is really cool. And they're Australian independent bookstores. So really, first of all, I'm super excited to read this one. This is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. Loved their other book, The Death of Vivek Oji. So yes, I'm super excited to read this new release of theirs. And this is like a super cool cover. I love it. And I also got Open Water, which this is super short. Which I think this is romance also. And then I got The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. Which, oops. I think this one is an upcoming pick for the NB Book Club, which is run by Jessie from Bow Ties and Books. And then lastly, I got 7 Days in June, which again, I think this is also a romance book, but I've been wanting to read this one for a while as well. So yay, there we go. A little mini book haul to start off my birthday month, because I think today is the 1st of the month. So yes, like I said, tomorrow we are going to have dinner. I think we're having it at my mum's house now because it's raining and the restaurant that we were going to go to is outdoors. So I think we're going to go to my mum's house tomorrow. And yeah, I'll film any Filipino snacks that we have, since this is supposed to be a Filipino reading vlog. But yeah, I'll update you when I actually do some reading, because I've not read anything yet. I didn't update yesterday. Keen and I went to my mum's place to have dinner for our birthday and stuff, and I was gonna film but I didn't. So that's great. We didn't really have that many Filipino snacks anyway. We just had leche flan, which isn't that exciting to look at. So hi Baba, did you find me? But I'll give you an update on my book. I'm like a third of the way through, maybe almost halfway through The Patron Saints of Nothing, and I'm honestly really enjoying it. I was a bit worried because it is young adult, which, like I said, I don't always pick up young adults anymore. But I think because it's going to be a bit more of a like hard-hitting young adult, not just a fluffy one, I think it'll probably be okay. I talk about what this is about, I don't know. Basically, this boy who lives in the US, and a lot of his family still lives in the Philippines. He's mixed race, so his mum is, I think, white and his dad is Filipino. So yeah, a lot of his family lives in the Philippines still. And in the first chapter, he finds out that his cousin, who was the same age as him, and they used to be like pen pals and they would send letters back and forth, so they were pretty close. So he's died, and his parents are being like really sketchy about what happened and not really telling him, and he's like, he was only 17, like he wasn't sick. So was there an accident? Did something happen? Like what happened? And they wouldn't really tell him basically, and he's like, okay, well, when are we going to the funeral? And they were like, there's not going to be a funeral. His family doesn't want that, like they don't want the attention to his death. And he's like, what? So anyway, he eventually gets his mum to tell him that it is due to the war on drugs in the Philippines. And the main character, I guess, feels a bit bad because even though he is part Filipino, he really has no idea about what is going on in the country. So then he starts to do a lot of research about it, and then he randomly gets this message on like Instagram, I think, and it's just a link, and the person who sent it, he's like, okay, that's obviously a spam account because they don't follow anyone besides me. They don't have any followers, they don't have any posts. He's like, so I'm not going to open it, it's probably a virus. And then the person sends a photo of his cousin and he's like, well, where did you get that photo from? And the person's like, yeah, you're his cousin, aren't you? I don't know, said something along the lines of like, he was a good person, he shouldn't have died, like this wasn't like, he was innocent sort of thing. So yeah, anyway, he decides to convince his parents to let him go over to the Philippines. He's finished school now, so he's like, I guess in that in-between time between like finishing high school and starting college. Yeah, his parents really don't want him to go, but he convinces them. His real reason for wanting to go is he wants to find out what happened to his cousin, but he didn't tell his parents that. So yeah, now he's over in the Philippines in the part that I'm up to in the story. That's the general kind of what's been happening so far. I've tabbed a lot of parts. Oh, this one part, he has a conversation with his friend, which I did enjoy the communication at the start of this conversation because he was being, obviously he's upset about his cousin dying, so he was a bit funny in school and his friend's like, what's going on? And he wasn't really saying, and then he was like, oh, my cousin died. So it's good to see teenagers communicating when his friend's like, what's going on? He wasn't just like nothing and just didn't tell him, so that was good. But then his friend says, man, I forgot you're Filipino. And he's like, huh? And his friend says, you're basically white. And he says, what do you mean by that? Sorry, dude, he says, backtracking, never mind. And then eventually his friend, once he pressured him, says, I don't see color, man. He says, we're all one race, the human race. That's all I meant. No, it's not, I say. And even if it is, that's kind of effed up. First, to assume white is default. Second, to imply that difference equals bad instead of simply different. Yes, to assume white is default, because he was like, oh yeah, you're basically white, like I forgot you're Filipino. And then his friend goes on to say like, oh, you act like everyone else at school. There was also a mention of someone named Kian in the book. I don't think I've ever read a book with the name Kian in it, but it was in a news article that he was reading once that guy sent him a link. It opens with a story about a 17-year-old boy named Kian de los Santos that police confronted because he was on a list of suspected drug runners. But yeah, the next sentence, he ends up dying. So he's not a main character in the story, but the name Kian was in there. Oh, I highlighted this line when he was trying to convince his parents to let him go over to the Philippines. Made me realize how little I know about Dad's side of the family, about that side of myself. I mean, we see your relatives in Ohio almost every summer, Mum, but I haven't seen Dad's family or been to the Philippines in almost a decade. I don't speak Tagalog. I can't even name more than a handful of cities in the country, but all that's part of me, isn't it? Or I mean, it should be. It's like I only know half of myself, which as a mixed race person who does not also know very much about the Filipino part of me. I mean, my Tagalog is extremely rough. Like I only know a few phrases and maybe count. Oh, and then I highlighted this bit. This is the last part I'll read you. But adults lie, I guess. That's what they do. Sure, there are a bunch of reasons they do it, and people would probably say most of them are pretty good. When you're a kid, they lie and say you did a great job in a game even if you sucked. Then you grow up a bit and Mum and Dad lie to you about how strong their relationship is and how much they love each other after they have a big fight. Then you grow up a bit more and they tell you the lie that life is as simple as studying hard, getting into a good college and finding a decent job. Sometimes I feel like growing up is slowly peeling back these layers of lies. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this a lot more than I thought. It also has what I now realize to be my favorite thing to read about in books, where there is a mixed race character that doesn't know about, you know, one side of their family, and then they go over to that country and learn about their culture, because obviously this has that. He's not really connected to the Filipino side of him, and then he goes to the Philippines. I've read a lot of books that have that with different countries, and I'm now realizing that it's one of my favorite things to read because I can relate to the main character a lot. Like off the top of my head, I can only just instantly think of at least 5 books that have that I've loved. So I definitely need to find more books that have that in it. But yes, for now I'm gonna go and read some more, and I'll let you know when I have another update. Good morning, I have some reading updates. I didn't vlog yesterday. We were very busy. My dad was working away and we went to his house to meet him. But I have finished 2 books. So I finished off the rest of Patron Saints of Nothing, which I only had a little bit left to read. And I think I'm honestly gonna rate this 5 stars. Like I said, it does have my favorite trope where the main character, who is mixed race, is going over to the Philippines, learning more about his culture. In this one, he's learning more about the country because, like I said, he wasn't really aware of much of the stuff that was happening with the drugs over in the Philippines. But yeah, it was mostly about him trying to figure out what happened with his cousin as well. So there was kind of like a slight mystery aspect, but I wouldn't call this like a mystery book. It's definitely just a contemporary. But yeah, there was definitely the aspect of them going around interviewing people, asking them, you know, have you seen this boy, and showing a picture of the cousin, trying to get to the bottom of things. And yeah, it was pretty emotional. It does deal with, I guess, the grief of losing a loved one, and a lot of the family were handling it very differently. Like I said, they didn't want to have a funeral or anything like that. I guess because in the way that his cousin did die. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm thinking I should get a copy maybe for my brother. I don't know if he'd want to read it, but I feel like he should. Anyway, so that's this one. And then I read Turtle Under Ice, which is in verse, so it's pretty quick anyway. It's only 250 pages. So it was a very quick read. I read it all last night. And this one is also about grief. I didn't 100% know what this was about, but I'm glad that I read it in a time where I was able to consume the content, because this does also deal with the death of a parent and also miscarriage. Thank you. Which miscarriage is a tricky one for me to read about sometimes, but it is basically following dual perspectives of these two sisters, and their mum had passed away when they were younger. I think, I don't know, somewhere in the ages of like 6 to 12. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. And their dad remarried, and then the present day, their stepmom is having a miscarriage and losing their baby. So yeah, like I said, dual perspectives of the two sisters. One of the sisters has gone missing and the other sister doesn't really know where she is. And it really deals with, yeah, just grief and the different ways that people are dealing with their grief and trauma. And at first I wasn't loving it, but I think with novels in a verse, a lot of times I try and listen to the audiobook, especially if the author narrates it themselves. But I didn't do that for this. Because sometimes with novels in verse, I feel like it takes a while to get into the, to the rhythm. But yeah, once I got into the rhythm of reading it, I feel like I enjoyed it a lot more. I'm not really sure my rating yet. I think I need to think about it. Maybe like a 3 or a 4. I don't think it was a 5-star book. I'm not sure. But yes, definitely a very heavy read, which I didn't 100% realize before because I didn't read reviews. But I did mark down this one quote in it. We have the capacity to be cruel if we let the pain consume us, but it isn't an excuse. My pain doesn't give me the right to inflict pain on someone else. Which, very true. Trauma can sometimes make people hurt other people. You know that saying, hurt people hurt people? And I also really loved the very last page where it referenced back to the title and the meaning. So yes, that is the second book that I've finished. So I have one more book left for this video, which I'm very nervous about because it is a young adult mystery. It looks like mixed media. This is the first page, so I'm gonna get started on it this morning and see how I go. So I am about 20 pages from the end of the final book that I was reading for this vlog. I would have finished it if Kian woke up from his nap, bless you. But I figured I'd just hop on before I give you my final thoughts for this book, or any of my thoughts, because I don't think I've spoken about it at all. But I did just get a parcel in the mail. So I thought I would open it because it is books. It's from Bin Chicken Books, which is a used bookstore in Australia. They have a physical store, I think, but it's just not where I live. Because they started online. So I had a code. They send a code to my email. And because it's used books, I was like, okay, I've got a discount code. Let me just see if there's anything that I like, because obviously it's used. So maybe I might not find anything that I want, but of course I did. And my birthday's coming up, so I was like, I'm just gonna treat myself to some books. They're on sale, so, and they were pretty cheap without the code because it is used books. So let's open this. It's like opening a present. Oh, and I've got like a little note. I have spoken to the lady who runs this store, Sophia, on Instagram before, and she's really nice. So I'm happy to support her and her small business. Oh my gosh, I forgot I got so many. Wow. Okay, first of all, oh, there's a present. I got a little bonus pin. It did say that if you spend over a certain amount, you would get a little extra gift. It says books are magic. That's so cute. So let's get into the books. So I got Far From the Tree by Robin Benway, which I don't always pick up young adults, but I've heard that this one is good. I know, I think that Lacey from Lacey B. Bell has said she liked this, and I'm pretty sure the Books and Lala just reread it and liked it, so I picked this one up when I saw it. Oh, this one has a little bookmark in it. This one is Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey. And again, I'm pretty sure I saw Books and Lala reading this recently. This is a lot shorter than that. This one is Born Into This by Adam Thompson, and this one is short stories. This is an Indigenous Australian author, and it is NAIDOC week this week, so this is also really short, so maybe I can fit this in this week. Also picked up Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi. I don't know if I said that right. This is, again, also really short. I think this is actually sci-fi, so really stepping out of my comfort zone for this one. I think actually I saw Books and Lala talking about this. This is just a Books and Lala haul. Next up, I got Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. I forget what this is about, but I think I saw Kaylee from Dog Eared Page talk about this on Instagram. I think that's where I first saw this, but I got that one. Picked up Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This is obviously super popular, got turned into a movie or a TV show, I don't know. But I've been meaning to read it for ages. And lastly, I've got Eggshell Skull by Bree Lee. This is a non-fiction book, and I did originally start reading it years ago. I had a library copy, and I just never finished it. So now that I'm in my non-fiction mood, I definitely want to pick this one up and read it. And like, look at the cover with the skull and the pink. It's so cute. Yeah, there's my book haul, and I'm gonna eat something now. I'm having the worst luck this week with deliveries. I'm waiting for food to get delivered. It was meant to get delivered at 9 a.m. or 9 a.m. at the latest. Between 5 and 9 a.m. it was meant to come, and it's now 2 p.m. Anyway, I will come back to you when I have an update on the actual book for this vlog. Yeah, it's been exactly a week since I started the vlog. I think I started the vlog on the 1st. Today is the 7th. So perfect, 1 week. Feels really satisfying. Hi, I'm going to quickly, if I can, wrap up this vlog. I did finish reading All of This Is True. I don't even know how to explain this book. Okay, first let me try and tell you what it is about. So we have these 3 main characters, Miri, Soleil, and Penny. And they are 3 friends at school, or they go to school together, and they are huge fans of this author named Fatima Rowe or something. I don't even know. She wrote this book called Undertow, and they are huge fans of her. And they end up kind of becoming friends with this author. The author is like living in their town. They become friends with this author. Obviously they are high school students, and the author is in her 20s. So she wrote her novel quite young, so she is still young, but she's definitely older than them. So these 3 girls and this new boy that comes to their school named Jonah all become friends with this author, and they are basically obsessed with her. One girl in particular is super obsessed with her, and yeah, it becomes this very toxic dynamic because obviously there is a power imbalance because they're fans of this woman who is an adult woman and they are teenagers. Yeah, so that's the premise. It is written in entirely mixed media, so we know that something went down, and Jonah, the boy, so this is how it's like kind of got unedited video footage, blah blah blah, and then it's like an interview. So we know that, we find out in the beginning chapters that Jonah is in a coma, something has happened, and yeah, something's gone down with this author and her new book. So it's written in mixed media. Two of the girls are being interviewed by, I don't know, and there's some person, I've forgotten who it is, for some internet show, whatever that said that I just showed you, Naked Truth TV. And then another character, instead of being interviewed by him, she's sold, or not sold, or given a newspaper all of her like notes and emails and text messages between her and the author to use. And then in between those, we're getting snippets of the actual book that this author wrote. Essentially, this author befriends these kids and then she writes a book basically about their lives. So she befriends them and gets all this information about their lives, and then she writes a book basically about them. And yeah, this is the aftermath of the book being released. And these kids that were fans of her basically were exploited. They became friends with her, but she really just wanted to write a book about them. And then all this crap goes down. And yeah, this is the interviews and the news articles, and the snippets of the book are actually about them. And that's what this book is. That I'd probably explain that terribly, but the reason it is confusing is because it's kind of confusing. I think I'm gonna go with a 2.5 star rating for this book, which is kind of sad. I was debating between a 2 and a 3, but I've just gone straight for the middle, 2.5. The reason I was thinking a 2 is it is incredibly predictable. I guessed the twist like literally at the beginning. Yeah, it was to me very obvious what was happening. The characters are, I mean, it could have been such an interesting dynamic between them because like I said, there's this power imbalance, and there's the author who they're all huge fans of, and it kind of gets like this culty vibe, and I feel like it could have just been so much more interesting, but the characters just weren't as interesting as I wish they were. However, I didn't want to give it a 2 because even though it was very predictable and the characters weren't super exciting, it was an incredibly quick read, and it wasn't something that I was like bored to pick up. Yeah, I don't know why, like I was still excited to pick it up even though I kind of knew what was going to happen. Yeah, it was just a very easy read and I absolutely flew through it, so it did have that going for it. So I don't know, I went for 2.5 in the middle. And I'm very worried that I'm never going to find a young adult mystery that I like, which is fine. Maybe it's just not the genre for me. I do have some on my shelves. Will I ever read them now, or should I just get rid of them? I don't know, because I've not had good luck with young adult mysteries, but it's fine. I'm still happy that I read it. Yeah, it's a super interesting premise, and I just feel like it could have been better, but it's not the worst book that I've ever read, and I feel like maybe like a super young teen would find it more interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know. But anyway, I read this. So that was the third and final book for this vlog. What is interesting about this, and I do want to quickly have a discussion because the whole point of this is because I don't read from a lot, or I don't make a conscious effort to pick up Filipino authors, and being Filipino I feel like I should. But what is interesting about this is all of these are Filipino authors, but it is a varied range of the amount of Filipino references and culture within. This book obviously has a lot because it's kind of like the whole idea of the book is this character going over to the Philippines, learning about the country, stuff like that. This book, it does reference that the characters are Filipino, I think once or twice, but it's not like a huge part of the story. And this one, I don't think it was mentioned ever that any of the characters were Filipino. Not that you have to write Filipino characters if you are a Filipino author, in the same way you don't have to write black characters if you're a black author. You don't have to write LGBT characters if you are, like, you can write whatever. But yeah, I don't think there were any, or if they were, honestly, I can't even think of what the character descriptions were in this book. Like, what did the characters even look like? Honestly, I don't know, which is a bit sad, but anyway. Yeah, so it's interesting that it ranged from, you know, a lot of discussions about being Filipino to none. So that's an interesting point about the books that I chose for this. I definitely need to make a conscious effort to pick up from more Filipino authors in future. So if you have any recommendations, then do let me know. I think that representation is extremely important in books, but in media in general. And very quickly at the end of this, I may as well have a discussion about how important it is to be represented anywhere or to feel seen. I don't remember if I spoke about this in the last time I did this vlog. By the way, I had a look at that vlog and Kian is so small. It was like in October of 2020, so he was a few months old. Oh, and seeing him so tiny and now he's about to turn 2, it's so bizarre. What I was saying is, if you didn't know, I was a primary school teacher before I had Kian, and one of the years that I was teaching, there was a little girl in my class who was Filipino. Her dad was Filipino and her mum was Australian, so opposite to me. And we had this one like day in the school, I think it must have been for like Harmony Day, I think it was for, and we were doing this thing where I was teaching 4th grade and all the 3rd grade and 4th grade teachers, we were all picking a country and the kids were in groups and they would rotate between us, and when they spent time with us we were doing activities around the country, teaching them about the country, blah blah blah. So obviously I did the Philippines. It was kind of easy for a lot of us to choose countries because one of the teachers I was working with was from South Africa, so she obviously did South Africa, etc. Anyway, obviously I chose the Philippines because it just made sense. And this little girl, maybe it was the start of the year or maybe it was I just hadn't spoken about it, but when I said that I would be teaching them about the Philippines and that I was Filipino, this little girl, I will never forget the look on her face, like of how excited she was, because she had just found out that her teacher was Filipino, the same as she was. And when I like talked about how one of my parents was and one wasn't, it was the exact same as her, and she was just so excited. And then when I did like the little lesson and we were talking about like the foods and blah blah blah, and I like involved her and I'd said, I think we were talking about halo halo or something, it's like an ice cream, and I had a picture of it on the screen, and I'd asked her if she'd ever had it and she had, and it was just the look on her face is just like reminded me, like, you know how nice it is to have someone that you look up to. And it's the same way as seeing yourself in characters in books and on TV and things. And this is like a random tangent now that I'm going on, but I'm gonna keep going. A lot of people probably, I'm assuming they're Australian, but I feel like the whole world maybe knows the Wiggles. Like the kids group, the Wiggles, that are from like the 90s is when they started, and they were just these bunch of guys. I'm pretty sure they were all teachers besides one, and they were all very musical, so they obviously took those parts of knowledge they knew about teaching kids and they knew about music and they put it together to make this Wiggles. So they were just like random guys that came together to do this, and obviously they eventually got old and retired, and the Wiggles by this point is huge, and I'd grown up watching the Wiggles, but by this point the Wiggles is huge, so they get new people in. And I'm assuming, I don't know what happened, I don't know, they should have just done auditions, because I feel like they would have had so many people that would have wanted to be on the Wiggles, but I don't know if they just went with people who were already working with the show or what. But when the Wiggles retired, that got rid of the one Asian person in the band, which was Jeff, who was my favorite because he was Asian, probably. I mean, maybe at the time I didn't realize. In fact, no, at the time I wouldn't have realized that. But now looking back, it's because he was Asian, of course. Because I find, now looking back, I definitely found myself clinging onto people in media that I saw myself in. But we'll get to that. Anyway, they replaced them with all white Wiggles. So now Kian's at the age where, you know, he would be watching the Wiggles on TV, and I hated it. I didn't let him watch the new Wiggles at all. And I bought the old Wiggles on DVDs and he watched those because I was so mad that the Wiggles had just all white people. And I mustn't have been the only one, because recently they got some new Wiggles on and now there's like extras. There must be like 8 now. So they now have a more diverse range of Wiggles. They have one girl who is Ethiopian. I think they have an Indigenous Australian Wiggle. They have a Chinese Australian Wiggle, apparently. I'm reading from the article to get the ethnicities correct. And the other Wiggle that they have, which doesn't say it in this article, but it said it in a different one, is a Filipino man. And the reason that I knew he was Filipino is because he was from this music, we'll say, group called Justice Crew. If you're in Australia, maybe you already know. But in like 2009, 2008, I don't know. It was when I was in high school for sure. On Australia's Got Talent, there was a dance group and it was all males called Justice Crew. And they ended up winning, and I was absolutely obsessed for years after that with this group. And at the time, I don't think I really realized, but looking back, maybe I did realize at the time, but looking back, definitely one of the real reasons that I was obsessed with this dance group is because multiple members were Filipino. And as an adult now, looking back into things I was, people, characters, anything that I was interested in, or the ones that I had favorites of, is because they were Asian. And it's like, of course, when you see lots of white people on TV and there's like one Asian person and that's the one that I am drawn to, it's like, this is why you need diverse representation on TV. Because, you know, when you're a kid and everyone in school is white and you're like the one, well, I'm mixed, but the one not blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid at school, and then you turn on Wiggles and there's Jeff, the Asian Wiggle. It's like exciting. So anyway, that's my huge rant, but we need diversity in our reading and in our media, and that's why, because of little old kid me who loved every person that wasn't white on TV, and because of that little girl that I taught that was so excited when she found out that I was Filipino. Oh my god, that was honestly so sweet. But anyway, thank you for watching my vlog of me reading Filipino books for a week. Don't forget to check out Jan's vlog as well, because like I said, she did this recently. I think it was like last month, so I'll definitely leave hers linked below because I love all of her reading vlogs. As you know, I'm Jan's biggest fan. And yes, I would still call this a success because I think I'm giving this one 5 stars. This is maybe 3 to 4, 3.5 will just go, and a 2.5. Not the biggest success, but I'm still happy to have read it. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video.